What is up, everybody? Welcome to AK Plays. I'm AK. Let's play. Alright guys, so before I do any kind of intro, look at this on screen. This is 1.1 Sentry's Call, the verbiage for their 4-piece. You could get 15% per shot, and you could stack with SMGs. You didn't need to have a semi-auto, and you didn't need to have it be 5% per shot. So, looking at that, my question is, could Sentry's Call builds ever be good in PvP again? Now, at the beginning, when gear sets first dropped, with that 4-piece bonus, Sentry's Call was extremely strong. And then, I missed this part because I left after 1.1. When the incursions came out, I played them, got all my gear, fully geared up, and then I took a break and came back right before 1.6. So I missed a lot of the time when Sentry's Call was a good build. So for me, Sentry's Call was great at the beginning of the game, and then I come back and Sentry's Call is complete garbage. No offense to Sentry's Call people, if you exist. So the idea is, I know Sentry's Call is very good in PvE. Its 6-piece does work in PvE. I've seen videos of it doing incredible things. I've been on missions with people that use it and they do great jobs. But I do 95% of my gameplay as PvP. And as a PvP player, Sentry's Call is terrible. I'll give you reasons why, but first, I've only seen one person in all of 1.8 run a Sentry's Call build on purpose. I know there's people that exist that they just don't have other gear sets. They don't have other gear. And I understand that. If your only build is Sentry's Call, then fine, you have to run it. But as soon as you get some real gear, you better get that off. So, and I know that exists. I know there's PvE players that love Sentry's Call. And for you, it makes sense. Good, enjoy it. But I've only ran into one person that legitimately, without joking, without not having gear, he literally said he wanted to run his Sentry's Call. And he did fine. I mean, for a Sentry's Call player, he did all right, like really good. But for a normal build, it didn't help at all. I mean, if we had a Striker instead of a Sentry's Call, it would have been way better. If we had any support build in Sentry's Call, would have been way better. But that's kind of what I'm upset about. The reason Sentry's Call is terrible is because not only do you have to use a semi-auto weapon, which is pretty terrible in the Division, but you have to hit headshots, which on console is not the easiest thing in the world, and to do both of those difficult things, you only get 5% extra damage per shot. Meaning that you hit 3 of your shots, and because your 6-piece bonus doesn't count towards players, that's all you get, is 15%. Your 15% can be done by a striker in like 1 second flat with an SMG. So you're not very useful. And then of course, I mean 15% damage, heck, a booster shot gives you like 10 or 12% extra damage. So that's kind of an issue. If you're only given 15% damage, I mean, you'd rather have a teammate with a skill build running a big pulse that's going to give them a ton more damage on their crits. You'd rather have a booster shot on. You'd rather a lot of things. It's just really tough when 15% is your max gear set contribution to the team. It's pretty tough to examine something like that. So my thought is, what could be done to make Sentry's Call good? Now, I know this probably won't happen. This game is kind of at the end of its life cycle, and they're working on Division 2 extensively. And Division 2 will be dropping in the spring, so am I thinking Sentry's Call builds are going to get a buff? Probably not. But it's kind of cool to talk about. I haven't seen anybody else talking about it yet, except me and my friends kind of talk about it occasionally when I joke around and they say, hey, what build are you running? And I say I'm running a Sentry's Call. We get a good chuckle out of it, but it's not that funny. I mean, if they buff Sentry's Call, it could be a legit build. But at the moment, I mean, they've done a lot. They've nerfed Pred, they've nerfed Nomad, they're going to be nerfing Striker. So who knows? Maybe they will buff Sentry's Call. So I'm kind of going to give my thoughts on what could be done to make Sentry's Call a good build. And then in the comments, if you want to say, like, hey, this is what I think of what could be done, I'd appreciate that, because I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Nobody else is talking about it, and I think it's kind of a fun topic to think about. So, Sentry's Call, worst build right now, guaranteed. I think that any Hexo, any Hybrid, any Classified, even most 4-pieces are going to be better than Sentry's Call. Because not only is it locked at having no 6-piece bonus, but it's a semi-auto gun, hitting headshots, only giving you 15% bonus damage. Not worth it, in my opinion. So, what could be done? My thoughts? You could bring back having each shot be 15% damage, and so it's 15, 30, 45, which would be pretty insane if you had a striker, well, depending on how they nerf it, but if you had a striker at full stacks, plus your Sentry's Call got somebody with 45% extra damage taken, oh my gosh, that person's going to get ripped away. Or if you're fighting against a D3 and your Sentry's Call can get 45% extra damage on that D3, you might be able to actually hurt them, because right now they're going to be invincible after Striker gets nerfed. If you're a Deadeye and you have a Sentry's Call running as a spotter, and they give you a extra 45% damage on a player you're trying to snipe, you'll be one-shotting everybody. So, in my opinion, that'd be kind of cool. And then if they're stuck still running semi-autos, at least it's worth it. Now, they could also make the 6-piece just work, which that could work too. I think that it wouldn't make it much more viable. You still have to hit a bunch of headshots with a semi-auto, and you're still getting very little reward for your headshots, especially when all the other gear sets are taken to such an extreme. They're very, very strong. So I don't know if I like that as much. The other option is you keep it at that 5%, but allow full autos to be able to stack headshots. It wouldn't necessarily be great, but it wouldn't be terrible. It wouldn't be viable, but it would be something that people could use if they really wanted. Or you could just unlock the 6-piece and allow SMGs, or not just SMGs, but all full autos. And I think that could also make it viable. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, trying to decide what would be some cool ideas for Sentry's Call to potentially get buffed. I don't know. With everything changing and looking at different gear sets, the reason for this video is yesterday I was trying to work on a build and I wanted to do something cool. And so I was looking at different builds, gear sets that I haven't played around with yet, and I was thinking about doing a Hunter's Faith Sentry's Call hybrid that relies on headshot damage. But I started looking at it and I'm like, geez, it's just terrible. They made it so headshot damage doesn't proportionally work as well as the critical hit damage. The percentage really just doesn't work very well. And Sentry's Call's bonuses aren't that good. Hunter's Faith's bonuses aren't that good. But Hunter's Faith, as much as it is probably the second worst build, at least it's somewhat useful because it can do huge chunks of damage. Sentry's Call is really, really bad. And I would like to see it get a buff. I mean, maybe I'm crazy. This video is just something kind of fun to think about, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, comments, if you agree, disagree, if you want to let me know your opinion, if you think I'm crazy, or if you think that, heck, it could use a little bit of a buff, just put it in the comments below.